candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with Abeg Vex Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Today, I have the pleasure of meeting with Ben Bressington. Hi, Ben. How are ya?
Fantastic. And you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So, Ben, before we got on this call, I started a question and I'm like, okay, I don't want to waste the conversation. Let's talk to our listeners. So, Ben, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I studied criminology and law when I first started back in Australia. So this is, if you know anything about Australia, it's convict law, it's English law, and Americans don't believe in the Commonwealth law. So when I came over to the US 15 years ago, they told me my law degree was worthless, right? So it was just like all the fun and joys of that. But for the last 20 odd years, I've been involved in technology.
Okay.
And as I quickly mentioned, I got started in criminology, which is human profiling, right? I wanted to join the Australians version of the FBI, right? I usually tell people that would mean that we actually do something meaningful and not be the people don't like, right? So, and a lot of people laugh at that when I say that. So no offense to anyone in the FBI. I am not trying to cause you drama, but it's just the joke. So I've always applied human behavior, criminal profiling to technology and systems. How do I build better systems to help people be more efficient and effective, right? So earlier this year, I got involved with a finance company, and they were doing these tax credits. And when they were telling me about it, I'm like, you what? That doesn't really make sense, right? And I'm like, this stuff can't be real, right? Like, whatever. I'm like, because my accountant didn't even tell me about it. Right. And I'm like, I'm paying two different people and none of them told me about it. None of them filed for it. So I'm like, this stuff, whatever. Right. And then when you research it, there's all the pros and cons and it doesn't exist and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's got an opinion.
Right.
So the more I researched it, I'm like, these credits are huge. There's also over 2,000 different types of grants that are available to small business, but most people don't know about them because it takes time, effort, energy. And when you're running a business, right, you hire an accountant, a bookkeeper, you think they know about all this type of stuff. But what we really understood is they know the software they're using and how to do those tasks. They don't know about new limited time programs that the IRS launches. And one of them was this self-employment tax credit. Everyone heard about ERC. ERTC was a big one for big companies. Lots of employees for COVID. If you're impacted by that, this is where people are getting like millions of dollars.
Right.
But for most small business owners, they missed out. And when I talk about a small business owner, I talk about everyone the same. Independent contractor, 1099 worker, gig worker, side hustler, Uber driver, insurance professionals, like people who sell insurance are 1099 worker. They're exactly the same as an Uber driver, a Lyft driver for taxation a lot of the time. Most people think, oh my gosh, I'm not 1099. I'm an independent contractor, right? I'm like, that's the same thing. Or they're like, I run a small business, but they don't think of themselves as a 1099 independent contractor, right? Because their business is what's independent contractor. So the more I dove into this, I worked out that everyone you ask has a different opinion on these things. So I wanted to streamline the process and make it easy for people to apply. One, go, hey, do I even qualify? Rather than getting 50 different opinions and someone saying this and that, like it's just based on IRS code, do I qualify? It's a yes or no answer.
Right.
And so we actually built a system, which over the course of this year, we've done in excess of 25,000 applications for people doing this credit. Wow. My goal is to be able to produce over $1 billion in tax credits by the time this credit expires in April 2025. So the other part of that is that we've made it very simple for people to apply for this and actually submit their amended tax documents. Because one of the things we did is we took 2 hours of accounting work where you'd actually have the accountant doing all this data entry, waiting for your tax return from the IRS, which can take up to 15 days.
Right.
We built a tool that analyzes your transcripts and actually applies for this credit for you. And it takes 60 seconds for our machine to now do this for people.
60
so we took two hours of work, now happens in a minute. Really, really cool. So now we can scale. The other thing we're doing now is a lot of people have tax debt because they didn't file their taxes one year, they got late payments, or maybe they just miscalculated their taxes.
Right.
Many a person has been taken advantage by somebody. I hear from hundreds of people.
Yep.
I was paying money to my accountant, but my accountant wasn't taking that money to the IRS. That was going out in bonuses. Like we spoke to somebody the other day. They've got in excess of $500,000 of a tax bill now, right? So now we've found this new pocket of a problem. And what I didn't realize is 20 million people are impacted by tax debt in the IRS every single year. But once again, IRS is scary. Who do I work with? Everyone you call goes, oh, we want a $25,000 fee, even if you only owe $10,000, right? And they use all these scare tactics to scare you into doing business. I'm like, it doesn't have to be like that. The IRS want to settle the debt with you. So we're actually building an AI right now that'll actually help people settle their tax debts so they don't have to pay $5,000. They pay our computer $500 and it'll help them through the process of reducing that tax stress because of whatever caused them to have a tax debt. So like we apply, and everything I do is focused around that human behavior element.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like I know it's stressful. I hate paying companies expensive fees when there's a simpler solution there or something now with technology that could guide me to do it myself.
Right.
And I could do it at midnight or 1 a.m. or whenever it is I'm working, because I feel sorry for a lot of the shift workers out there, right? A lot of people, there's a lot of shift workers out there, and unfortunately, they're doing stuff at different hours of the day.
Yeah.
And a lot of their help isn't available 9 to 5. Right? And it's a huge problem. So now they seem to have these issues, but that cause them a lot of stress and a lot of headache. So that's what we're doing. So I apply all these problems and I look at all these real world problems. So we found the one with this tax grant or this tax credit, and which is for people, if you haven't heard, we can get you up to $32,000 if you're impacted by COVID and you're a 1099 worker. That's what I'm talking about. So and it's only a full $32,000 if you've got kids and if there's other dependents in your household that were impacted, right? You may be only entitled up to 30% of that if you're a solo individual person, no kids, like I've got no kids. So I don't get the kid benefit. But still, $6,000, $7,000 as a tax credit or actual cash is huge. And the other part of it is even if you owe the IRS money, you can get it. Cash or applied to your tax debt. Just think of that relief. Like if you owe the IRS, let's say you owe them 10 grand and then the credit we can get for you, we can only get you $4,000, let's say, right? Wouldn't you like to know and have that debt instantly reduced by $4,000?
Sounds like a great relief. Yeah.
Yeah. Even for just submitting a piece of paper. Like, and the thing is what I find fascinating is a lot of these programs get released and a lot of politicians like to release these programs, but they don't make it easy to claim and they never really tell you how many people actually claimed it. So it's then our job to kind of like go beat that drum of, hey, this applies to you.
And I don't think most people, because when we're talking about the class of people that we're talking about are, like you mentioned, business owners, 1099 workers, those independent contractors. The focus is that or the fact is that most of these people or people like me who do these jobs, we are focused on billing. We're focused on making sure things are submitted and we're getting paid. Running after money that seems imaginary is not the focus, right? Or running after something that seems like it is a stretch from what is attainable because of the way, like you said, all the obstacles that are placed. Right?
The other part of it is we're talking from what you did in 2020 and 2021, not what you did in 23 or 24, right? Like it's just like
mine right now. When you said COVID, I'm like, that was a few years ago. Why, and that is still something that is feasible and reachable. You're saying, 100%. Right?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is people are like, yeah, but that was like from 21. I'm so busy right now. I'm inundated right now with just trying to keep the lights on, trying to pacify my clients. And you're like, there's a lot of doctors who are independent contractors. There's a lot of healthcare workers that are independent contractors. There's gig, like nurses, travel, like those are contract work. That still could mean you're a 1099, like not an employee. And it's only when you get people to go, well, would some extra cash from a tax grant that is literally yours help you? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, just answer 12 questions for me and just let me see if I can get it for you. It's not going to cost you anything. They're like, oh, that must be more of a scam. I'm like, oh my gosh, like seriously.
That was my next point, because it almost sounds too good to be true, especially, unfortunately, it's trauma, right? So people have experienced things like you said, accountants that you trust and pay, dropping the ball and not doing what they're supposed to do, or even knowing about these programs. Then who are you? And, to couple that off, you have an accent. You're not even from here. Why should I trust you? Right?
Oh, exactly. You can't trust an Australian, that's for sure. That's the last person on earth you can trust, right? Like, damn. Like people like, they're like, why can we trust your company? But I'm like, well, we've only done several $100 million in tax credits. And like, I've got like several hundred of these people that are applying every day, but totally don't trust me. Go ask your accountant to audit my numbers. And then watch what happens is what we've been seeing is a lot of the accountants will go, yeah, no, you can't do that. And then what they'll do is, like, we say our fee's $500. The accountant goes and charges the client $750 to go, we'll fix the taxes for you because these guys missed some things.
Right.
So like, I'm like, all we're doing is helping the accountants make more money because of something they didn't file. But I'm like, that's okay. As long as the person gets the credit, that is okay.
Right. And talking about AI, because AI is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? I love the innovation and I love where it's going. And my thing with AI is that AI tools on their own are great, right? Yep. But I still, I'm a firm believer in having the human component, right? 100%. So you have this tool that is able to delineate and figure this thing out in 60 seconds, which is so impressive, right? So is there a human oversight in making sure that the information extracted, the information presented, and the information in use is actually accurate and meets the standard? Because I know with most business owners and independent contractors, the last thing we want to grapple with is IRS issues or tax issues, right?
That's a fantastic question. And that's why we actually offer an IRS audit guarantee. Okay. Well, if you ever get audited because of what we submit, we will actually defend you and protect you, right? And here's the thing. One of the things is we've had our logic verified by multiple accountants and auditing process, right? Okay. We found that our system was more accurate than human data entry and human analysis, because when you're analyzing transcripts, there's many variables. Married filing separately, married filing jointly, got multiple income streams, all this type of stuff. And when people were looking at the transcripts, they were misinputting data because they were taking data from your tax return transcript, putting it on another screen to calculate it, and the 2 would be backwards to the 3 and all this type of stuff. We've used automation tools that actually improve accuracy, but also then allow us to verify our analysis through an independent tool so we can actually double check where most humans don't. So we found we were able to improve accuracy of submissions because we used the right tool, but we're also able to validate that this is meant to happen the same every single time.
Right.
Humans, by human nature, take shortcuts. Skip it over. If you've had to do the same analysis 20 times today, what do you think you're going to do when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon? That coffee's not kicking in, the lunch food coma is kind of kicking in, and like you're starting to get tired.
Right.
Mistakes happen, right? It doesn't matter if like it's outsourced to a team in India or the Philippines or wherever it's outsourced to.
Right.
Mistakes happen. We, however, can be 100% correct because it's the computer doing 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 1 is 2 all day long. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, but it's convincing people that are more on the skeptical part of it. When it comes to AI, I'm all about utilizing that technology as long as it's not done blindly, right? There's
100%.
that human oversight. Then my next question to you, since we're talking about impact on COVID, the impact of COVID on independent contractor and small business owners, right? So what if the cost of running a small business it's a lot, right? So for somebody who has worked with accountants, it takes at least 2 to 3 years for a business to notice profit, right? In its investment. So if a business goes first year, second year, third year without profit, but has shown, I don't want to call them losses, but are losses when you're talking about profit and loss, right? In investing in people to do task or to perform a task without really returning that investment. Is that something that you can work with? Because from my own experience, that there was a pattern where the accountant said, at this point, I don't want to take into consideration everything you spent on the business, even if you had proof. Because it's like, there was a loss, and I expect, the accountant expected gains, marked gains. So is there anything that you can tell a business owner who's out there who has invested time, effort, and capital into their business, but is still working to get that profit, to get to that profit or to that break even?
Yeah. So one of the things you've really got to look at is, it's one of the things we had to analyze, is that a lot of accountants would run people's books or their tax returns for a different objective. Maybe it's tax minimization, and they classify your income differently, right? So the thing is based on how they're classifying your income and how they're classifying all your deductions and things like that can significantly impact you getting these types of credits. So if you ran at a complete loss, right, and they've run you as a complete negative loss where you've lost everything, some of these credits won't be available because it's going on the income earned.
Got it.
So if there's no income, you actually don't have one of the main thresholds to meet it.
Right.
Or if they wrote your income off in a different way because of a certain strategy they're applying. Right. And this also then impacts you for different grants and subsidies and things like that for different programs. So you really want to be thinking about, what am I trying to do with these numbers? Do I want to start going for grants? Do I want to start going for programs? Do I want to start going for things? Because saving a few $1,000s in your taxes when you could be getting a $500,000 grant or whatever it is, right? Well, it doesn't really make sense to save a few grand here when you're talking about saving pennies for dollars. So you've really got to think through and look at the bigger picture. And it's not necessarily always about, the accountants will focus on one strategy. But remember, everyone you speak to has got different goals, different ways you should set. Like, even if you've got your own company, like, do you set it up as an S class or a C class, all this type of stuff, right? And depending who you talk to is going to have different opinions.
Absolutely.
And you've got to go. One of the things I've learned from, and this is, I've been an immigrant. I've had to set up multiple companies. I've had to deal with things. I've had to do stuff, right? I've had a different perspective.
Right.
And what I've learned is to get multiple advice and keep getting that advice, because as my position change, so should my advice.
Right.
And so should the people I'm getting advice from.
Right.
Because maybe the strategy or the things you were doing when you first started were great for that first year.
Right.
Second year, it should have changed, but you're still following that same advice, which is now impacting you in a totally different way. But your accountant's not going to tell you that. Your bookkeeper, there's a lot of people, independent contractors, file themselves.
Right.
And we get letters from people, emails in our customer support all the time. I filed this myself. I should be available to get this credit. I'm like, yes, I know you filed it yourself, but how you filed means you didn't get it, means you didn't qualify. I know you're an independent contractor, but you ticked this box instead of this box.
Right.
So now you're at a loss. So my advice to people is, like, continually seek new advice, particularly when it comes to accounts and finances. And there's the Tax Act is so big. And I found, if you're doing your finances yourself, I get it. It could suck to have to pay someone a few $100s or a few $1,000s. But that person could make you $100,000, 6 figures, 7 figures. Is it worth that advice?
It is. I think the struggle is getting, like you rightfully stated, different people will give you different advice. Again, time is limited. If somebody tells you they're an expert in this and that and this, and you see reviews or other people they have worked for, and then you go with that person, it unfortunately only the direct experience can really show you if this person knows their left from their right, right? So at that point it's like a lot has already happened, or for lack of a better term, you've already been screwed over, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what is the fix? So how do you fix that? How do you come out of that? Because again, we're humans, we get traumatized and we like, okay, so who's the next person that's going to lie to me or do
100%.
do you right?
Look,
So
I'm talking from a guy who, like, I've had business partners like fleece me of $7 million. So I can tell you, like, it hurts. Like when you invest everything and these business partners are like, we don't need you, right? And then like they're just like they do stupid stuff because greed impacts people. But here's the thing: is like even the advice, like you have to be really careful of because there's case studies are dangerous, and a lot of people don't realize this because in a case study, there's a whole lot going on.
Right.
In that person's case study, what they don't tell you is they've got multiple income streams already. They've already been in business. They're doing X amount of dollars. Maybe they're already spending 20 grand a month on Facebook ads or advertising, and you're spending nothing. Like your situation may not be exactly the same. So you want to be aware of that. Like, yeah, they did an awesome thing for this person, but they didn't tell you that they got $250,000 to start that business from parents as whatever it is or however it is, right? So case studies, I know a lot of people promote by case studies. We've done so many millions of dollars in tax credits and we haven't used any case studies because what we've noticed when we look at people's transcripts is everybody is unique and different.
Right.
And you've got to be treated in that way. So the thing is can we analyze your data and provide you accurate information, but also show you how we calculated, why we calculated?
Right.
Yes, that's what's important. And if you're in business, you're a 1099 contractor, did you file for the self-employment tax credit? It's either a yes or a no. And if it's not, let us help you get it specifically for 21.
Right.
And what most people don't know, here's a little secret. Is it okay if I share a secret with you?
No.
All right. So what most people don't realize and what most accountants will never tell you is if your income in 2020 was greater than 21, you can actually use your income from 21 to claim the credit for 22, and you can actually get the full $32,000.
So wait, Benjamin, wait.
Back there.
Wait a minute. So we're going and I'm doing things just for not checking a simple yes or no box.
Yep.
Stop it.
So, and here's the thing. Some people had greater income in 21 than they did in 20.
Right?
So now we can actually use that because all we know is this little section of the IRS. This little code. We spent 4 months verifying our logic just on this one thing. People go, Ben, can you help us do our books? I'm like, nope, because that's not what we do.
Right.
We're not interested. We're interested in doing this. Now we're interested in also helping people solve their tax debt and help them resolve tax debts, reduce their tax debts. And it's because we're working with some of the ex-IRS agents who know how to help people because they were literally on the other side of the fence. Does that make sense?
It's mind-blowing sense, right? So a lot of people will benefit from this. So being somebody in healthcare who consults, I do 1099. I also work paid employment and also have my own business. So most times things are all over the place and it's just easier to just say, okay, earned income here. Okay, let's file it, right? And like you just said, most accountants are, focused on, here are the numbers, I plug it in here and we call it a day. There's no looking for the frilly things, the flour, the bells and whistles, the spices, the perfumes that make it smell good. It's like, these are the hard numbers that we have to work with and that's it, right? So if it makes sense.
But also, one of the things you're forgetting Most accountants or bookkeepers, they're always stressed. They're overworked. They're focused on chasing invoices. Oh my God, it's tax season. Right? They've got all this stuff going on, right? They've missed the 50 other new things that are available to them because they're so focused on what they need to do to get that task done, not how to improve the efficiencies or optimization or they're like, oh my God, we need to reconcile your bank statements.
Right. I don't think
That
there's
stuff
an
drives me
incentive
crazy.
to chase down, though. That's the one thing with accountants and bookkeepers. There's no incentive to chase down those new policies or new things. There's no incentive. If I can show you your books are straight and I can make sure that you have your returns, at the end of, the filing season or whatever, I've done my part. Because most business owners, let's be very honest, right, are focused on, do I owe the IRS or do I not owe the IRS? Great, I don't owe the IRS. I have something back. Moving on, right? It's been a good year. I like this conversation because as business owners or small business owners for that matter, we focus on, capital, investing into our businesses. And oftentimes you're pulling from personal to invest. I've done this, right? And there's plenty of grant money and other resources available. Just this year, just in the last, what am I talking about? In the last 2 months, right? I've really kind of like stopped and looked at other options. Most people don't do this. Okay.
Well, there's 2,000 grants available to you as a small business owner in the USA right now. 2,000 different types of grants that have their own criteria. One of the things we'd love to be able to do in the future is literally be able to ask you a few questions and to be able to automatically qualify you for grants, then help you get those grants. That's where we want to go in the future. Could you imagine the impact of that? It's like applying for grants or subsidies or tax credits could be as easy as like choosing the right credit card. No one does that. But yet the impact that would have on people is massive. And to be honest, look, talking about tax stuff, most people, like, their eyes glaze over. Like, they don't want to sit with their accountant and talk about their numbers. But yet, if we're talking about the Kardashians, hell yes, I got an opinion about that, or the latest trend or whatever on social media, or the whatever dance or ice bucket challenge, right? But the thing is telling you how I can put some money in your pocket, people are like, that's not real.
It's stressful. I think it's a stressful thing once you start talking about taxes and the IRS. I think it's just the general, spooky feeling, or the IRS is going to get you and everything's going to fall apart. People are very uncomfortable talking about taxes, right?
Oh, they're scary because one of the things is 20 million people in the year, every single year, owe the IRS money. And I have a lot of people who go, Ben, I owe the IRS money. Can I file this? I don't want to get an audit.
Right.
I'm like, here's the secret. I'll give you another secret. What most people won't tell you. If you've already got an arrangement with the IRS, they will honor that arrangement and give you back the credit in cash. They won't deduct it. If you don't have an arrangement, that's when they'll deduct it. Right? So here's the thing, is like, there's so much help available out there, but a lot of people, because they see people in pain, happens in healthcare all the time, right? Companies take advantage of people. And what we're trying to do is level that playing field using technology and going, hey, the IRS doesn't have to be that scary, and it's not something you want to ignore. There is easy help out there. One of the best things we're doing right now is we're actually translating everything we do into multiple language. So we've got Spanish, French, German, Italian, Arabic. So that way people can get help in their local native tongue. This is really, really important because a lot of the IRS stuff is English and Spanish.
Yeah.
We're going to be available in 99 languages. Like, I know Nigerian, South African, all this type of stuff is important because there's pockets of community. So we're actually getting everything translated into those languages so we can help those very tiny demographics of people where solving some of these stresses could really be life-changing for them.
Right. So we talk about the different demographic of people, and you did say tiny demographic of people, but if we actually step back and actually look at the bigger picture, right? We actually take a big lens, right? The Americans, people that are Americans, okay, the naturalized Americans, or the American people that are born in America, okay, European American, Black American, Hispanic American, you name it, right? Who establish businesses, often establish businesses in either a corporate sense. Okay, we're talking about the LLCs, we're talking about the S Corp, the C Corps, right? Those, hefty entities, I should say. But the ticker, which is like the heartbeat of our daily living, is mostly of this quote unquote tiny communities. You're talking about the Uber drivers, okay? Who are the people who do Uber ride a lot? So Uber Lyft, right? So majority of these people are immigrants from these countries that are usually excluded in making this information available and how they can benefit from it, right? You talk about the restaurants, right? You like that Chinese restaurant down the street, or that Indian restaurant down the street. Hey, do they understand this level of benefits is available to them? Absolutely
No.
not. Right.
They usually miss out. And then it's only after the fact they're like, oh, and they're like, just another thing that like wasn't made available to me or hidden from me.
So they can be small in the pool of the big boys, but at the end of the day, the very ticking of our community, right? You're talking about people who deliver your food and whatever, the very heartbeat of us functioning, right? Are this quote unquote tiny, country which is really huge, right? We think in a tiny sense, but they're really huge. So this platform, especially this Abeg Vex, was actually, I started this podcast for that very reason. The people that are often marginalized, overlooked, and not really get information in a language that they understand, or in the way that they understand, or explain, or connecting people to you, like you offer these services, right? Imagine people who listen to this podcast who know somebody or have a family member who has a business or have a business of their own, like myself, right? I've worked with this guy. Okay, he's great. Hey, why don't you contact him? Because at the footnote of this podcast, I'm going to put your information there, because you know what? I want people to benefit, people to understand that, services like this do exist, Yeah.
This is why we just started automatedtaxcredits.com. This is literally the whole reason, right? And it's like, how do we make things really available to people and make a massive difference to people?
Wow.
And acknowledge that I know the story of the immigrant. I understand the challenge of the immigrant. I understand how it's easy for them to be prey to some of these bigger companies. Like I was talking to another company in the tax debt space. They spend $5 million a month on advertising, right?
Okay.
5 million, right?
What is the return on that?
Oh, huge, right? Huge. But they're very predatory because they set people up with like financing programs at a crazy interest rate to finance their consulting fees to help them pay these tax debts, right? So they end up paying like $20,000 as a fee to help people solve their tax debts. And I'm like, our whole program is stop paying. You don't need to pay these crazy fees. For $99, I'll get you the exact same information, and it's backed by an IRS agent who will literally help you solve your tax issues without paying fees. All right. So imagine now if you're actually getting better quality service, which is actually almost as close to validated by the IRS as possible, without having to pay a $5,000 fee, a $10,000 fee, a $20,000 fee, because then you could use that money to impact your family.
Absolutely.
And that's where we can use automation and AI and technology to make that possible. And this is the whole goal behind automatedtaxcredits.com. And our whole goal is I want to put $1 billion of tax credits back into small businesses' pockets.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
It is. It is huge because, again, people go into business not because They have all the time in the world and they don't know what to do with their time. They go into business to make profit, to be able to sustain the lifestyle, to be able to sustain their families. Talking about the immigrant stories. The immigrants come here for a better life. They come here to have their children have a better life. People immigrate to change the environment and, have a different lifestyle. So imagine coming here and then a company is telling you in order to qualify or in order to pay a $5,000 penalty, which if the accountant did everything correctly may not have even been a penalty in the first place. In order to pay this $5,000 penalty, you have to pay me 25 grand. Where am I going to get a 25 grand from when I'm trying to build my business? So I'm not completely surprised at the predatory nature of some companies.
Well, and they also use the fear of the IRS as being the bad agent, right? So the thing is people are already under pressure. They're already under anxiety. So it's very easy. And this is what, like, these big guys are spending $60+ million a year because it's so profitable for them. I want to make sure that we can eat away their market share and empower the little guy. Because you should be entitled to this information. You should know that it's not that scary. And here are the right steps to do.
Right.
And so that's where we want to take this. That's our vision for what we're trying to do.
Right. So do you work with any organization that feeds kind of business owners who may need your services? The reason I'm asking this question is that I know depending on the state, they do have like a small business organization, who supports small businesses and also connects them with services and businesses that can help them out, whether it's grant, whether it's understanding taxes or even tax services or, understanding the grant that they may be eligible for. So are you like working with any of these small business, what do you call them? As
like chambers of commerce and all those types of associations.
Right. Yeah.
Well, one of the problems is because we're national.
Okay.
What they usually want someone like us to do is sign up in every county, in every city, in every state, and all this type of stuff.
Right.
So even those companies become very problematic to deal with because of how we operate nationally.
Okay.
And then they want you to come and join their events and do all this type of stuff.
Right.
So unfortunately, as much as we'd love to be able to be, sometimes we're actually restricted because they don't necessarily like the new kid on the block either, right? Because they're a business selling something specifically, which is like the association, their chamber. They're like, well, we need you to register in our county and our stuff. I'm like, but that's not what we're trying to do. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to become the vehicle that local accountants can use.
Okay.
And so what we're trying to do is empower local people to leverage our tools to also grow their business. So we actually partner with local bookkeepers or accountants to leverage our tools to help grow their business so they can be our local representatives on the ground.
Got it. Okay, that's smart. That's really smart. So right now, with all 50 states, how many states do you have representation?
We've got representation directly in about 4 states right now.
Okay.
We will have representation. My goal is we'll have all 50 states over the next, by the end of the year.
Okay.
And then we're really going to work on like city representation.
Okay.
So like getting representation in the cities.
Okay.
And so rather than us trying to fight the national battle, we're kind of fighting it at this little local battle and helping local people.
All right. So basically, all accountant bookkeepers who are listening to this episode, please reach out to Ben if you're interested in learning more. I'm a lifelong learner.
Well, if you're a business coach, business consultant, business advisor, if you work with small business and literally want to provide them with tools to give them access to tax credits, help them with tax debt, because this is the audience you're going to be working with, right? And here's the thing. If they could leverage our tool and actually get instant value that alleviates a problem, as the consultant advisor, what happens to you? More trust, more trust, more respect, more rapport. They're like, damn, they actually helped me.
More business.
Yeah. The referrals we get once we've helped people are ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, talking about nurses, right? The one place that, talking about travel nurses, contract nurses. So, is this something that, say, a nursing agency can, pull into assisting their nurses? Because travel nurses most pay taxes in two states. They pay
Yep.
taxes in their state of residence and they pay taxes in the states that they're working. And, not everybody offers housing stipend, but even with the high housing stipend, there's usually more cost incurred, right? Feeding yourself and taking care of your family. So is this something that for anybody who owns a travel agency or nurses who are traveling can reach out to you? And how can you, help in that regard?
This should actually be a travel. This should actually be a member benefit, or so for a lot of companies we get it offered as a member benefit,
Okay.
or an incentive, or just a referral. It's like, hey, we've got a trusted resource for the self-employment tax credit.
Mm-hmm.
Apply for it here. They'll literally tell you straight away if you qualify, and then they'll help you get qualified for it. It's that simple. Like, this process can take somebody less than 60 seconds. Like, that's the power of what we're talking about. You answer 12 questions, you give us your ID, you sign our authorization form. We will go directly to the IRS, get your information, verify that you've got everything you need qualified. We'll prepare your documents for you. Done. Right? And we have a fixed fee for document preparation. Right? And here's one of the things. Once again, in a lot of this space, we've got a fixed fee of a few $100s.
Okay.
A lot of our competitors charge up to 25% of your tax credit, right? So we're like, and a lot of people, well, could you just take the money on the back end? I'm like, but we're trying to actually put more money in your pocket. Like, pay a few pennies now so you can get dollars. There's some people I've heard that are even taking more than 25% of your money just so you don't have to pay a small fee on the front end. I don't think that's fair and reasonable. Like, because they know that a lot of people don't have the money, right? So that's why they don't charge them 20 grand up front or 5 grand. Like, if you're getting 20 grand back, they want to charge you $5,000, $7,000.
Right.
I'm like, why? When like we'll do it for $500. Right? We'll do it for $99.
Right.
Like, we've got programs that make it affordable for people.
Right.
And I think that's more effective.
I think being transparent is a good way to build trust within your customer base, as opposed to, I'm going to gouge you in the back end. It's like, okay, you pay a flat fee and this is the fee. It doesn't matter what you get from it. The fee is fixed. And I like that business ideal. Let's go back to COVID really quickly. A lot of family members or a lot of working class people found themselves in caregiving position, right? Either their loved one had COVID, or they had COVID themselves, right? Or they found themselves having to care for their loved ones who at the time was receiving home care, and the nurses and the physical therapists and the home care providers were not able to go into homes, because these are the kinds of services that unfortunately got halted because of, contact. So if somebody lost wages or even unemployment within that time period, and it may not necessarily be attributed to a business, can somebody benefit from that tax credit?
Quite possibly, yeah. And this is why we have to analyze each situation and what was filed on your tax returns in 20 and 21. So that's why we analyze 20 and 21 and actually see what are our options, right? And this is how we can leverage the data from both years to make it fit for you, because everyone was impacted differently.
Okay. So for the business owners who actually lost revenue because, say, their restaurant was shut down or their daycare was shut down, and, all of those, services that involved people, it all depends on what you filed for that year, how those documents were filed. Then the determination will be made based on individual analysis. That's what I'm understanding.
Yes. 100%. So yeah, we analyze each situation, and based on your situation, we literally let you know, because every situation for filing is unique. So we analyze your documents that were filed, and that way we can go, hey, based on what you filed, here's what's available to you.
Right.
You qualify, you don't qualify. That's how it works.
Okay. So for people who don't have an established business entity, how does that work?
They have to be a 1099 worker or an
Okay.
independent contractor. So a lot of these people are actually doing it through themselves.
Right.
They may not actually they're not using their EIN, they're using their social security number.
Right.
So this applies to you. ERTC applied to the businesses and the companies with employees.
Right.
We are 99% of our applications are all under a social security number, not an EIN. So the independent contractor who's operating themselves as the business,
right,
this applies to you.
I love this. So please, I know a lot of us use our social security numbers, even as independent contractors. You shouldn't. You really shouldn't. So an EIN doesn't cost you anything.
No, it doesn't. You can apply on the IRS for free for an EIN number.
The website actually is good for, I think they go off after business hours, but during business hours, you can get an EIN at no cost, and nobody should be charging you to get an EIN. So if you want to do anything for yourself or consult or, whatever it is that you need to do, please get an EIN. And I know there's some people or some business owners or nurses or whoever you are who would rather provide an EIN to an employer rather than their social security. But in any case, whatever you use, if you're providing a service, yes, please get in contact with Ben, and your unique situation will be analyzed to see what you qualify for. Talking about getting in contact with Ben.
Yeah, so getting in contact is really, really, really easy.
Right.
AutomatedTaxCredits.com.
Okay.
AutomatedTaxCredits.com. Go there, complete the application, and our team will, you'll be able to see if you qualify within 60 seconds or less. And then if you qualify, if we say, yeah, we think there's something here, you can literally submit the application. We'll be back to you within the next 3 to 15 business days once we hear back from the IRS with your personalized data.
Right.
And go, yes, no, exactly here. It's no cost for the analysis.
Okay.
No cost for the analysis.
I love that. No cost for the analysis. When the work happens, that's when you pay. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. I think you just have to sign a release. For the people that are skeptical, Ben, and they want to either read a review and see how your business functions, to see if you're legit, what can you say to that group of people listening?
Don't apply. Don't apply. Do not do this, because clearly not legit, not going to be around tomorrow. We're going to take the free money you're not paying us and we're going to run. 100%. So yeah, there is 100 different ways you could go apply for this credit.
Right.
There's 100 different companies you can go use. And the thing is, they got to go where they want to go. And the people who are doubters are always going to doubt. The thing is if it's not even worth your time to even see if you qualify this, then don't worry about it.
Right.
Go this crazy Australian. He was fun. He was entertaining. Don't need you to apply. And that's the thing, right? If you would rather pay more to somebody else because they're going to take all the money on the back end and you're going to pay 5-10 times more than you should, go to somebody else. Like, if you're not interested in going, hey, how can I work with a company that'll actually help me put more money in my pocket and it'll protect my interest, and is actually using real accountants, partnering with ex-IRS agents, because I know there is hundreds of companies out there that do this. No accountants in their office.
Right.
Don't even work with accountants. They don't do anything with the IRS. They'll tell you they do. They'll make all these big claims. But when you lift up what's under the table, smoke and mirrors, we call it, smoke and mirrors. So it costs us a lot. Like, we've got a whole bunch of accountants on payroll.
Right.
Right? Like, that's why we charge a document processing fee once we know with certainty we can get your credit.
Right.
Because I have to pay professionals who are independent contractors and employees.
Right.
Right? So, but that's our only fee. And people but then you could make 10 times more money if you took success fees all on the back end. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm taking your money away from you.
True. Yeah. So you heard it here. Don't apply if you're if you're skeptic. Ben means it, and he means what he's talking about. So when it comes to that whole relationship and going through the process, okay, yes, I go to a website, I fill out a questionnaire, right? I give the release, this is process, and in say 10, 15 days, business days, working days, whatever, you get back to me, right? So how is that process like? Am I looking to at least have somebody on the phone where I can ask questions, or is it mostly an email conversation of letting me know what the next steps are, what is being done next, and all those extra fluffy, beautiful things?
We communicate with our clients on all channels: text message, email, website chat. It's all there.
Right.
Phone calls. And then what happens is once you approve us to prepare the documents for you, and we prepare the documents and you pay the invoice that we send out, literally your documents are provided back to you pretty much within a few seconds.
Okay.
And we show you how to file them with the IRS. So you sign them, you print them out, mail them, sign them in, and it takes the IRS they say up to about 15 weeks. We're finding everyone is different, right? Because state, location, like so many different variables. I don't work for the IRS. Right. I can't make them process your application faster.
Right.
But it's just like you when they pay out your taxes,
right.
They will send you a check or put the money straight into your account, and they'll put it into the account you used for your tax return refund. So the IRS will pay it out, but it can take them up to about 15 weeks to actually pay it out. So that's how it works. It's like it's pretty quick. I know that sounds like a long time, but at the end of the day, if you file now, you'll get this money by Christmas.
Yay!
When you really want to spend the money by Christmas.
Christmas shopping. Yeah, it's just me being silly. But time will pass. Time is relative. Time will pass. It's about doing the work. So that's the process. The understanding is that you go on the website, you fill out this questionnaire, and once you fill out the questionnaire, your data will be processed to see if there's anything available to you. If something is available to you, you will have the guidance of, the staff, be the accountant or whoever is managing, to tell you exactly what to do, what documents to fill out and send to the IRS. At that point, it's between the IRS and your paperwork to process it and make a decision, right? So Ben is not taking over anything. Ben's accountants are not taking over anything. It's basically identifying areas where you benefit, and is basically you requesting from the IRS or talking to the IRS and it's like, hey guys, I think maybe you may have overlooked this.
It's just mailing it in. They don't have to talk it in. It's literally submitting some paperwork to go, I need to amend my 21 filings to claim this credit. That's all we're doing.
That's what
no phone calls to the IRS.
You're not really getting on the phone. So your paperwork is basically communicating everything that you have to say. Whatever document you're mailing in is communicating, hey, based on this document, an amendment is, would be nice.
It's showing the amendment. It's giving all the evidence. It's giving all the documents so you don't get audited. Right. So you can go do this all yourself. But the thing is you file it wrong, you're going to get audited. You file it without the information, you're going to delay getting the credit. They'll be like, yeah, you totally get the credit. But now we need you to provide this, and this, and this. And you're like, oh, crap. Like, misfiling the application is more easy than people think. And we filed thousands of these. No audits, no issues, no problems. Like, that's part of the value. We can help you file it right the first time.
Right.
So we've seen people go, I'll file this myself. They're still waiting 6 months because they're going back and forth with the IRS. Because they're like, Ben, I wish we went with you and we didn't try to file this ourselves because we didn't know what we didn't know.
Right. So my understanding is that the analysis, it's not just, here's a document. This is, the tax credit you're eligible for. The analysis also shows you what documents, supporting documentation to provide to support the tax credit. I like that. Yeah. So you're not going at this alone trying to figure out what to send in support.
No. And we've done it thousands of times. And so we're making your life easy. And that way we can go, here's the entire document. Go print this out. Sign it, put it in the mail, And in 15 weeks or so, you'll have some money from the IRS. Happy days. That's it.
Victor.
Yeah. Now I'm sparkling.
Picked up your sparkles. I love it. Oh, wow. Okay. So please, I know people will have questions. I always encourage people who have questions to please get engaged, comment, ask your questions. The services that Ben provides, it's evergreen. Okay. I know that we're having this conversation now and, we're talking about this credit that you said.
But this credit expires in April next year. So this
April
isn't something you want to wait around.
Absolutely. Like he mentioned this, that stuck in my head. April of 2025, this tax credit ends. Okay.
You cannot apply for this in April 2025. Do not wait that long. And if you want money at Christmas, that means applying now.
Right. So take advantage of this. If you're just curious, the 12 questions, right? 12 or 15 questions, about 12 questions. 12 questions would be where it is. Okay. Is it a yes or no? Do you qualify? Do you not qualify? Always do your research. And like Ben said, if you're doubting, that's fine. There are a million people, 1,000 other people who are providing the same services. See what speaks to your spirit. See what speaks to, your comfort. It's not a forced service. However, if you're curious and you're wondering if this applies to you, I would say please reach out and be curious. Ask questions. Engage. Let us know what questions you have. We want to answer your questions. I want to make sure that everybody's need is addressed. Again, not everybody's needs can be addressed. Again, I'm not Candy. We can't please everybody. Understand that. Right?
Exactly.
So if you're naturally curious and this is something that can be beneficial, why not reach out? So what I will do is that all of Ben's services, I will include it in this show notes. It will go up on our social media platform. It will be on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Okay. And Ben, it was such a great time talking to you. And I learned a lot. I know after this, you and I will have to talk. You and I will have to have a conversation. But I'm very happy that you came on here. This platform is to let people who may not generally have this information readily handy, make them aware of this information, make them aware of these services, and also make them aware of the help that may be out there because the big guys are taking it.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
So thank you for being here with us. Any final thoughts for our listeners, Ben?
No, if you just want it, remember, you can apply for free. We'll do an analysis for free. It's automatedtaxcredits.com. And if you hear that funny because of my accent, I'm sure there is a link below, automatedtaxcredits.com. Just go there. You've literally got nothing to lose and possibly at least $32,000 to gain.
Woohoo.
If that applies to you. So there you go.
All right. I love it. Thank you, Ben. And bye, everybody. We'll see you soon, okay? Please get in here, have a conversation. We'd love to keep Ben around. All right. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Abeg Vex Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.